The best decks for Yu-Gi-Oh! Oh, okay, hold on. I kind of want to see this. I really like tier list. Underused, what's it called? Underused, what am I trying to say here? Underused video type. I feel like this used to be a mainstay of CMO, and then CMO gave up literally all sources of content for just progression series. And then I feel like no one did this for a while. And then Cali Effect started doing it, and now everybody's kind of back on like meta tier, and that's cool, Chad. I like that. Do you guys remember for like 2-3 years, CMO used to do this, like, I think he used to do this like every month or at least every format. Like everybody used to, and then it just died. So I'm glad to see it's coming back. Actually, hold on. Hey. Now we have, if you guys have seen chat, what else do we have? Everyone does board breaker tier list, hand trap tier list, which I kind of get it. Like why you need a, because I mean that one feels like, do we really need a hand trap tier list? But like, yeah, you know, from format to format, hand traps do drastically change. Ones like Shifter, Droll, you know what I mean? Ones like Ash and Imperm are gonna kind of stay consistent, but Ogre can go from S tier to F tier with the, you know, with the format to format. So, what's up, three boy?
Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka MBT, and what's this? Competitive Yu-Gi-Oh content? I can't believe it. Not on my MBT channel. Where's Junior
I can't either.
Where's Jank Bank? What was the name of the show that I had where I would... Where's Turbo Tuesday? Listen, I've been testing a lot of CYAC format, both with and without a hypothetical ban list that we might be getting in some number of days. Anytime now, by the way. Did you guys know that Monodium Triheart has a defensive psychic blade? So I thought I would share with you all some of my insights after playing a bunch of games of the new format and what decks I expect to be good after we've just experienced the first weekend of results. Please bear with me. This is not a type of content I'm used to. Usually I make more high concept, important, culturally relevant pieces of art. Like when I ask people what monster has the loosest bussy on Twitter and get 100K. All right, Yu-Gi-Oh! So first off, let's begin with Tier 1. Now, these are the decks I expect to be the highest... What are you all spamming already? So rather than just put each one of these decks on the chart in order, I want to go from top to bottom. The decks that I think are the best, followed by the decks that I think are slightly less good, and then terrible.
Here's the only question, chat, before he does this. Should people make these tier lists 100% as is, as the format is right now, or should you project with a ban list into consideration? Because I feel like that changes kind of everything. What do you guys think? Tier 1.5? Yeah, so also the chat doesn't believe tier 1.5 is a real thing. Because I feel like you're inherently trying to project with all these decks anyways. But like a deck like Cash Tira, I don't know. People have already put it in stone. Like, oh, Mind Hacker is getting banned. I've heard that in videos. You know, just make a new tier list after the. Actually, they're probably gonna do that. But anyways,
which I have written high potential for. You might as well write copium there, but I'll explain why I think the decks that I put in high potential have high potential. Despite the fact that, you know, there's pretty much no way that they're playable in any sort of reasonable capacity. Let's begin with the deck that I think is the best moving into the CYAC format, and I'm so very sorry to have to deliver this terrible news to you, but it is unquestionably Cash Tira. I know new CYAC decks, oh my god, Purely and Super Heavy Samurai are going to be absolutely incredible, is something that I would feel comfortable saying if Cash Tira wasn't playable. Cash Tira is just... it's so many things, it just does everything. Why is everyone saying Ass Tira? Why is everyone saying Bedge? Come on! Here's the deal with Cash Tira. It's good. In my estimation, Cash Tira is just so far above the purview of anything else. It not only has consistent and...
I don't know if I'd say so far ahead of everything else, but... And the fact that this shit is still tier 1 in the OCG after like 3 limits is crazy.
Powerful lines going first that can shut off individual plays available to opponents, but it also has the capacity to go second. Cards like Fenrir and Unicorn are really good when you get to trigger their effects natively because you're attacking. One of the other things that Cash Tira has going for it is a natural immunity to a lot of the hand traps that I think are going to populate decks this format. Decks like Super Heavy Samurai have changed the math on hand traps so far as people are playing cards like Droll and Lockbird, Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, and while Kashtira definitely does have trouble against Droll and Lockbird for some specific opens, frequently they don't care at all. Add to that an unbelievably good Pearly matchup, and the fact that it makes a macro Cosmos in a format where a bunch of stuff has to go to the graveyard in order to get repeated activations, and it's not hard to see why I expect this deck to be the best thing moving into the upcoming CYAC format. It's also why I expect there to be a list before the Philly YCS. It'd really suck if like everyone was excited to play these new decks, and then it just turned out Kashtira was the best by a lot. So I think Kashtira is the only deck that I feel comfortable calling tier 1. The next two decks I'm going to put in...
Whoa! Yo! He only... Wow. I kind of like this. He only put Cash in tier 1. Can I get an MET in the chat? I mean, we've seen every other person be like, oh, well, Super Heavy's by far the best deck, and Purely's gonna be flopping. And I've seen someone put Manadium over Pure. Like, I've seen some fucking stupid shit on these ban lists. Like, oh, man, I kind of like this.
Tier 1.5. These are decks that I don't think, like...
Had my attention... Or, excuse me, had my interesting. Now got my attention.
Like, are super competitive with Kashtira, but I think if a ban list shakes out in a way that Kashtira is hit, these could easily become tier 1. And unsurprisingly, the second one is Super Heavy Samurai. I think that Super Heavy Samurai is an incredibly powerful deck going both first and second. It has unbelievable lines that play through just about anything under the sun, with two really big exceptions. Listen, there's got to be a combo deck in the format, and the combo deck that gets to play 12 one-card starters, but also 20 non-engine is probably the one to pick. The downside to Super Heavy Samurai is twofold. Firstly, I think it's got a pretty big weakness to Droll and Lockbird, which a lot of people are starting to understand, as well as commonly hand traps like Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit on the Scarecrow. And secondly, because of the weird stipulation within Super Heavy Samurai that you can't play spells and trap cards, there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong for it, especially post-boarding. You don't get access to really powerful equalizers that make up the difference when facing opposing combo strategies on the draw. Also, you have to rely on non-engine, but you have to open your one-card combo as well. It's really easy to get into a position that MathMech was getting into for the past 6 months, where you just draw 5 hand traps and stare at your opponent. That said, it's still an extremely consistent and powerful combo deck, and I do expect it to be very playable, especially if Cash...
I still don't think that that's a bad thing. Unless you're saying, like, if I go second and I have 5 hand traps, like, I only need 1 starter. MathMech needed a specific, so you needed 5 hand traps and then to top deck, like, specifically circular. Like, this deck has, like, 3 cards that are all just, like, or was it 12 spots that are all just like, oh, we got the full combo because we do with 1 card. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Next up is Pearly. Pearly is in such a strange position for this format. So if you're unfamiliar with Pearly, first, I don't blame you. Pearly is not a deck at present, right? This deck fucking sucks. It's the worst deck of all time. I'm putting it in tier 1.5 rather than putting it in tier 3 where I think it belongs. Here's how Pearly works. You utilize quick play spell cards that all discard a card in order to summon Pearlies from deck, which once per turn reveal...
What the? He should have opened with this. What the heck? This, I don't know if this is like part of... He should have opened with this.
Reveal the top 3 cards of your
This is adorable.
Add another quick play to hand. If you play this right, you can chain a whole bunch of them together and then end on a whole bunch of Pearlies on your side of the field, which you
should have started with that.
Mirrorless, Ensemble, Robin, cute. And also
check out the Nuggets.
16 mat E-Pearly Plump, which you can rank up using Pearleap into E-Pearly Noir, which obviously just...
I saw somebody, chat. I saw somebody have a draw 8 yesterday. It was on DB Grinder's channel. It was a purely mirror match, and they had Plump with 3 sleepies, and then they took their opponent's sleepy, and they drew 4 cards, and then they were going to rank it up to draw 4 more. It was crazy.
Shuffles like 45
that shit was
cards
wild. Draw 8
into the deck. In theory, it sounds really good. In practice, it's got a couple things going against it. Firstly, its main combo play aims to draw a couple of cards using the effect of Pearly Sleepy Memory in the standby phase, and then do the same thing again after you rank up with Pearleap. But in practice, because you have to be on a critical mass of the quick play spells and a critical mass of non-engine, it's not like you can just expect you're going to draw into interaction. A lot of your board is just going to be concentrated in that Noir. Secondly, Kaijus are unfortunately getting main decked now. It turns out the same cards that beat Arise Heart Pass also beat Pearly, just fiat, like on face. Things like Santa Claus eat this deck alive, and they will be played both by this deck, against this deck, and by any deck that...
Hey, chat. Do you guys think there's a world where I don't play Spear Mode and instead play Kaijus? Just so I... You know, I don't think I can make that decision until we know the ban list. Is there a world though? Because like Lava Golem seems really good against everything, but I can't really bank on my opponent playing 3 monsters. Like I can bank on this deck always having 3 monsters, but like this one maybe if they go for it, even purely end on 2. Yeah. I just don't know if I play against Samurai. Like I don't think a Kaiju's gonna beat that deck because if I Kaiju Baron. I still have to deal with Savage. Regulus doesn't really scare me, to be honest. The Savage could be a problem, though. Like, Appaloosa doesn't either. But, like, having to deal with Savage plus like that's still 3 big-ass monsters. The Baron, obviously, is, like, the scariest of the cards because he can pop stuff and negate. Quim, Cart, Mirror. I don't even count Branded as like a real deck. Like no one plays that shit. I don't even think about Branded, to be honest.
Whatsoever. As a result, it's in this really weird space where it has a lot of raw concentrated power, but it's power play that is meant to insulate you against a lot of the non-engine that it loses to, which happens to be the same non-engine that better decks lose to, doesn't even necessarily draw you into the cards that enable you to rebuild or prevent your opponent from killing you. I think there are scenarios in which this deck becomes like best deck, but it would require an OCG style let's hit absolutely everything. Tier 2, Joshua Schmidt, I'm sorry. I think the 4th best deck.
I don't know. I don't know. Like sometimes Purely looks insane, chat. What do you guys think about Purely? What do you excuse me? What do you guys genuinely think about Purely? Sometimes the deck to me, when the deck doesn't open with discard fodder, it can look very average. Like it can look worse than Math Mech. But then sometimes if they discard like I don't know, a Shadow Beast or something, or it can look like a God deck. The opposite of what Jip says. What if Purely is a Nah, I don't want to go that far because we have seen it top. I want to say it's a shitty replay deck. Like it's proven a decent amount so far, but it's supposed to have best deck of Jesus Christ. It's supposed to have best deck of the format potential. And you don't usually get that out of shitty replay decks. It becomes very obvious, very early on. Like this is just this deck has no chance of. Kevin Durant has 6 points. Oh my goodness, this bro actually has 6 points. It is so wild that people thought like this team was instantly gonna win a championship when he's here. That's crazy. Jokic has 3 times as many. That's 6 points. Like you can't make one. That's like. Well, I guess it's only halftime. I was gonna say that's like 1 shot a quarter. Wow. He's joining the Nuggets now. I just never understood why people thought Kevin Durant could like lead a team to the championship when he's never done it. Or even lead a team to the finals. Like, he's never done that his entire career. There were so many people who were arguing, oh, yeah, Kevin Durant's better than LeBron. That's going to go down as, like, one of the dumbest arguments ever. You should have been arguing for Steph versus LeBron, not Kevin Durant versus LeBron. Crazy how he looks when he doesn't have a 7. That's what I'm saying. When you take KD and you just put him on, like, a good team, not the greatest team ever, he's good, but he's not that dude. You know, like, I think you can make an argument, chat. Giannis better player all time over Kevin Durant. And I'm not trying to kick him down. Who's a better player, Big Pimpin', overall, all time? Giannis or KD? I feel like it's a legitimate argument. I know Kevin Durant led the league in scoring 4 times, but I feel like it's a very legitimate argument there. And Giannis can't even shoot, but he's a way better defender and a better leader. And he led a team to a championship with no, like, all NBA, no MVPs or anything like that. Anyways.
Oh, no! Why did you do that? I'm not coping. Here's the thing with MathMech. Like Super Heavy Samurai, it has the capacity to do a 1-card combo.
This feels kind of low. Okay, I want to hear this. Let's see.
No! Why did you do that? I'm not coping. Here's the thing with MathMech. Like Super Heavy Samurai, it has the capacity to do a 1-card combo, this time using MathMech Circular instead of Super Heavy Samurai Prodigy Wakaushi, and then fill up on non-engine. This can play upwards of 20 non-engine, just like Super Heavy Samurai if it desires, if it goes for a lower ceiling and board. The unfortunate truth is its end board is going to be a lot less explosive than Super Heavy Samurai, but a lot more resilient to a lot of the board breakers that would give Super Heavy Samurai trouble. It's also a lot more flexible. Builds, I don't think, have solidified yet. People haven't decided if they want to be playing Firewall Defensor and to what end. Individual setups can go radically different ways, depending on what you have opened. This deck has an incredible weakness to Droll and Lockbird, which is a terrible place to be right now, but there are hands that can play through it, and there is the capacity to extend through it if you're willing to just end on Heat Soul Conflict Pass or something like that. The issue with this at present is that I don't think people know what they want to actually do with these cards. It's clear there's a lot of power concentrated in cards like Firewall Defensor and Mathmech Circular, but to what end still is kind of up in the air. It's clear that the old board of going like Wicked plus Masquerena plus Lingaribo is just not strong enough to compete with a consistent Kashtira build or even stuff like Pearly or Super Heavy Samurai, but the alternative, like just going for a one-card Terahertz setup, loses so badly to the kaijus that people are playing main deck that it's almost not even worth considering. That said, this still has the capacity to just go Update Jammer access code, kill you, so it's fine. Next up is Sprite.
Yeah, and I also have to say, I know the Heat Soul boards are like maybe what people go for. Is it meter chat or is that just RNG? Like, I think that's the reason why I was like, I just don't feel like Mathmech is. It just feels too RNG. Like, even though you get 2 draws, that just sounds insane. 2 draws from your core combo, which I guess technically this deck does as well. But like getting 2 draws, but it just feels RNG. Like if I don't want to draw more Mathmech cards. Those don't do any. Like especially if I already got the Surge Diameter. If I already got the Surge Diameter from Wicked, like I don't want any more Mathmech cards. I don't want Signet Mining. I don't want like you just draw all these other shitty cards that you already used before. I literally just want to draw hand traps. That's it. And to me, it feels very RNG.
Boys,
I never bought into Heat Soul Pack. It feels good, but it feels like eating, I don't know, a piece of cake for dinner or something. It feels like a lot of icing and not a lot of cake or not a real meal. You know, as RNG is tiered, well, we're not going to go on.
Sprite is in an awful position right now. Sprite's fine. Sprite's been fine for the last 8 or 9 formats. It's a
I think Sprite's I think Sprite's bad. I think Ogre coming back into the format was like the worst possible thing that could happen to Sprite. Because Gigantic just feels like he just doesn't resolve anymore.
Decent deck. It's also got a lot of capacity to change. You know, the Melfi stuff wasn't considered standard until the 250th YCS, for instance. That said, it's got a lot going against it. Like a lot of top decks, it's got to compete with Droll and Lockbird, and now people are main decking Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, which people were playing way back when, to beat this deck in particular.
Yep, that's what I just said, Chad. Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit coming back into the format was the worst possible thing for this deck. Because now it's like before you go Gigantic, you have to have Sprite Red on the field. And then it's like you got to give up another monster. And then your M boards aren't even that fucking good because you don't have Elf anymore. The Melfi cards, ironically, make you play into Droll even harder. Because then you can't search the Melfi cards if you're under Droll. And Sprite like should only really be searching like 1 time or twice. You know, Blue Search, Jet, get Drolled, cool. I can still do everything. I just don't get 1 spell in Trap Search. But with the Melfis, now I don't get the Melfi Search. Without the Melfi Search, the whole fucking Melfi package is useless.
Because the way
your Sprend is also like way worse.
Gigantic Sprite detaches for effect rather than cost. It's also in a really weird position in terms of the ban list. This is probably like the 4th or 5th best deck, but because it has a longer lifespan than something like Pearly or Super Heavy Samurai, which haven't topped at all, it's in a really weird stasis where like it's not great, but it could still snag a hit on the ban list like blue to 1, and then it's Jover. It's just Jover. It's just absolutely Jover. Let's go to tier 3. Time to get a little contentious. I'm going to start saying stuff that makes absolutely no sense. First up, Brandon. I don't like Brandon's position right now. I think that it loses to a lot of the floodgates that people boarded.
Oh, man. All right. This is interesting. I feel like Brandon's either way undervalued or just sucks, and there's no in between. Brandon is like a stock chat that you buy it at $8 and it could go next year. It could be $3 or it could be $23. You know, I once owned this stock called Beyond Meat, and I bought it at $150 per share, and they made a deal chat with Coca-Cola, and the stock went to $200, and I sold all my shares. I made like $4,000, And I was like, I'm out. And I called my brother and I told him, and I was like, yeah, I just made $4,000. Fat chest. How much do you guys think that Beyond Meat is worth now, chat? Per share. I told you guys I sold it a couple years ago at $200. How much do you guys think Beyond Meat is worth now? Why do you fucking Google using Google using bozos? Beyond Meat stock. Again, I sold this stock at $200 per share. It's $10, chat. And it went, wow, I didn't even know this. It apparently went down 20% today. Like that's what Sprite is. This stock was, hold on, I can show you guys. Let's see. Yep, there you go. October 2020, 194.95. There you go. It's like right at the time they announced that Coke deal. I was like, I'm out. I made money. I'm out. And now it's worth $10 chat. From 200 to 10. That's Sprite. You know what I mean? That's like, or excuse me, that's branded. Branded's either way undervalued or just sucks. But I don't know. Like I see this deck and it's like, it's cool, but I don't know. Locking people out of special summoning is kind of cool.
And for when they're going first, like Dimensional Barrier.
Was that post split? I don't think Beyond is split. I think it's actually just tanked.
I think it bricks in the exact same way that it's bricked for the last 6 months. I think the new cards in Branded make your end board a lot more resilient, but I don't think they resolve Branded's number one problem, which is there are some hands where you just absolutely need your Branded Fusion to resolve, or you are going to die. Theoretically, there are scenarios in which New Quem can assist you with some of those setups, but I don't think the backup setups are good enough to beat the high ceiling setups of something like Kashtira. Really powerful deck full of really powerful cards that I think is just very badly positioned. Labyrinth. Labyrinth's good. I'm just afraid that Labyrinth might catch some strays as Konami hits some really powerful trap cards that have kind of lived their natural lifespan, floodgates and the like. Labyrinth actually got a lot in the most recent set. Cards like Chaos Angel are technically makeable in Labyrinth. If you go back to Dogmatic Punishment, you can start using Garginual to get Lulu Willith into your rotation. You have pressure on your opponent, which you didn't before. There's also builds of Labyrinth that are just on like furniture and like 5 traps total. That I think are so different than the way we played Labyrinth previously that they might actually be like worth a reevaluation of the archetype as it is, like in its matchup spread. That said, there's a lot of bad cards in this deck. And finally, Dragon Link. Listen, literally every single time any new card is released, I immediately think that Dragon Link is a top tier deck. I don't know. There's something wrong.
Nah, Dragon Link's not top tier.
Makes me think this.
Dragon Link can't be top tier because not dark or light, not dark or light, not dark or light. This is what? Earth or something, and all over the place. So, yeah. Like, the Bestials, there's no light and darks, you know? You're not getting double, you only get double value out of this guy.
Why? There's some new synchros that are fantastic parts of a Dragon Link end board. Things like Dispater, they can make Chaos Angel without blinking an eye. If decks like Mathmech are top tier cards,
Purely's light and dark. Yeah, but you don't want to banish the little cats like from the graveyard. They don't matter. The little cats just rank up into the big cats, and they don't rank up using they rank up using spell cards. You know what I mean? So like banishing a little Pearly from the graveyard like doesn't really matter. So that's my bad. They are light and dark, but ironically it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter because they do what's it called? I think even the field spell chat. The field spell, when the Xyz go, the field spell summons like one from the deck or grant, but it doesn't like, you don't declare before the fact. You can't be like, oh, summon this exact purely from my grave. It doesn't like target. You know what I mean? So you can't even bestial it. If you bestial the graveyard one, they just summon one from the deck.
A lot better, but a lot has to go right for Dragon Link to be in a good position. Like all of those plays have to be game-winningly strong. And there has to be a favorable metagame for their big-ass DD Crows, in my opinion. And that's it. See? Let's do high potential. First up is Monopoly.
I gotta be honest, chat. I gotta be honest. I really like this list. I know there's a reason I'm in love with MBT. How are you guys feeling about this list so far? I really like this list. Seriously. Like, there's nothing so far where I'm just like, I completely disagree. Or like, no, I completely disagree. Not too bad. I think he's right. Like, I think this is the best deck. I think these two new contenders are better than these two. I think this is the biggest wild card of the format to me is the branded deck. Because again, this is an $8 stock chat that at the end of the format will either be $4 or it'll be $24. Maybe not 24. It'll be $4 or $12. There you go. Like, it's gonna be one of those where branded has like bunches where maybe it wins a YCS or gets like 4th at nationals. Like, whoa, man, branded 4th at national, that's pretty good. Or it just like flops because of Ash Blossom. Who knows?
Stadium. This deck actually took some names at the nationals that were held this past weekend. This is a synchro combo deck, and there's a bunch of new powerful synchro monsters. It's missing a second wave of support that'll, I think, bring it into tiered metagame contention. But for now, it's something you definitely should have a plan for, despite the fact that I think that it's probably not good as the decks above it. Fluandereeze is a really cool deck. It's got access to Time-Rending Morganite now, which is almost a custom card system.
I'm going to just keep saying this, and I don't care if people don't like it. Unban Barrier Statue. Quickest way to fix this deck. I'm just going to say that every single time I stream. Just unban Barrier Statue. Quickest way to fix this deck. Fuck making new cards. Just unban the statue. Just unban the statue. There's like no other. How do you fix this? There's like no other way to fix this deck. Just fucking unban statue. This deck will go from here to like right here. Instant. Maybe here. Nah, people still play it. Yeah, it'll go from like here to here instantly. It's one card.
Specifically for this archetype.
Then Cash will
have access to a
I don't. That feels like a lot of summons though, because like I get it, right? Cash could get the barrier, but that feels like hold on. Is it just a single rank 7 that like summons the barrier statue from the deck? Because like if you're going 7/7 into like this Raid Raptor card, and then you summon barrier statue, like you're not locked in to win. So like where are you going from there? Or do you make it at like the end of your combo? Isn't that Fenrir alone? Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's hard. I'm just, do you make it at like the end of your combo? Because then now you just like, you know, super play, falling in like Nib, Birth, normal sun. Okay, at the end of the combo. No, I'm not saying it's hard. Cash Tier can get into rank 7s easily. We know that. But it's just like, if you make it at the end of your combo, are you now just like going back to playing into a Nib dot deck? And at that point, it's just like, why not just, if you're going to do all of this summoning, like, why not just lock zones? You know what I mean? Like, is that really all that different than just zone locking? I guess it doesn't play around, or it plays around Kirikara and Kaiju, so maybe it is technically better than zone locking. But I don't know. I don't know if it's that much better than zone locking, to be honest. I feel like it's probably about the same.
Loop M-Pens and like activate the
guess it plays around Nib.
Ryza 2 or 3 times a turn, which is difficult for any deck to keep up with. Its biggest issue is that a lot of people are playing Droll and Lockbird, and if this card ever sees Droll and Lockbird,
also
it will immediately scoop. There's a bunch of new cool combos you can do with Sword Soul. Ringo Worm opens up the capacity to like play it as a second long one. You open.
I don't think Sword Soul should be tiered. I'm just gonna be honest. I don't think that. Unless you just want to say Sword Soul and Vanadium are the same deck, I don't really see how Sword Soul is like tiered. It doesn't feel like it justifies it. But I guess Vanadium and Sword Soul are just the same deck.
Like Emergence plus Ringo Worm, and you can go like Emergence for Taya, normal Taya, banish Emergence, summon a token. There's Ringo Worm, and then you just
I get that, right? I don't even think it's worth mentioning, to be honest.
Using the Chi-Shao as material. And then you can bring back the Ringo Worm, and you can make Shaman, and then you can reborn the Chi-Shao.
I don't even think
Sword
Soul is like worth mentioning.
It's like a very specific setup, but the deck is kind of hurting for a 4th name. Theoretically, this could be that. I just don't know if it raises the ceiling enough for it to actually be considered.
Because look at his own chat. SS, Duck, Beige. Like I don't even feel like this deck. I get that it's not tier, but I don't even feel like it. I don't think it has high potential right now. I just don't. If your best board is Baron Shizhao Blackout, which you could do like 18 months ago, like Sword Soul really hasn't changed at all. Like, I don't know. This deck need Protoss or something. It just hasn't gotten better. It's doing the same thing that it did a year ago, chat. At YCS Charlotte. Like, literally the same thing. The same thing.
Trap Tricks is incredibly strong.
Sword Soul all died in the lore? Oh, well then I guess that just predicted predicted the real life meta.
It's got a lot of really powerful tools and the ability to rank 4 spam into their tribal monsters extremely well. This deck just has a really big problem with one card in particular, which I feel like I probably shouldn't name.
Nib?
I don't want to tell you all the card that it has a problem.
Or Edom?
The other problem with this card is the most powerful end board that it can possibly put up occasionally puts up like a bunch of trap holes that the top decks just don't even play into. Like, it turns out a bunch of conditional removal spells aren't as good when your opponent knows about them, and even even if you end on a bunch of really powerful rank 4s, there's a ton of cards that deal with those. Tearlament! So in a theoretical future where Kashtira gets absolutely nerfed, I will be considering this deck. You all don't understand. It gets so good if you can consistently play without having to worry about a macro. So Navalon Rika is in a very beneficial position from my perspective. It seems like the deck that has the most capable end board that can be like the most individual kaijus drawn in a hand and the most blowout spell traps. It just puts up like very...
This deck is cool, but it feels like it has to play a lot of bad cards, chat. Like, I was looking at some deck lists for Rika Sun Avalon. You have to play like 3 Loki, and then like, is it Unexpected Die? I think you have to play like, that's like 6 cards that go into one combo, man. And it's just like, ugh. I do like the fact that, I mean, yeah, even God, I like the fact that it gets a trap as disruption, chat, very similar to like Math Mech. I think it's Rika, whichever one, Petal, the one that like activates from the graveyard and contribute your opponent's stuff. Like that type of stuff is nuts. Cause it's like, bro, even if you dark ruling me, I still have disruptions. And I don't think anyone's gonna play evenly this format. So like this deck is kind of, I don't know. This deck feels oddly enough like it can do some work. Yeah, like I don't know. You put a gun to my head, chat. Like maybe Cap G plays Rika. I probably have all the cards for this. Well, a lot close to them. Loses to Droll. How much search is does the Loki stuff search at all? I thought just the Rika stuff searched. I thought the Loki stuff didn't search at all. Because I know this deck can play through Nib because you can tribute, or you can use not Princess, whatever the Petal. Yeah, you can use Petal to like negate Nib. The Link one does. Oh, never mind.
Varied points of interaction with a bunch of negates cycled here and there in a capacity that a lot of decks aren't capable of dealing with. It could theoretically be the combo deck that goes over the top, but who knows? I don't know. But it can
also, its Floodgate kind of sucks right now, chat. You guys remember when that dude won Euros with it? So he played Mine. I'm just gonna discount Mine completely because it's banned. But he was also playing Rivalry, and Rivalry sucks. All Fairy, all Machine, all Cybers. Rivalry's really good against Branded, but you know, all Worm, all Wing Beast, Plants or something. Like
it's for space with the other combo decks in the format, and I think it's probably less capable.
Rivalry, it does. Rivalry's really good against Cash, unless they specifically have Fenrir. If they have Fenrir, they just attack. Or they have like going second. I mean, a Rise Heart can just banish it.
And they are so. Marincess. So I'm a firm believer in Marincess. I think it's in a really good position, like Super Heavy Samurai and Math Mech, where it's like a bunch of 1-card combos, and then you just end up drawing like 4 or 5 pieces of non-engine. Not only like searchable stuff like Marincess Wave, but ending on like Drawn Droll is just an FTK. You have Bubble Reef in order to draw into a couple of copies of it, and then post board you can check blowouts with Aqua Argonaut. The problem it has is the same problem decks like Pearly do, which is Kaijus, but it has the capacity to play around them in a better way, provided those decks are playing exactly Santa Claus and not something like Gamciel, because you can use June Moon to theoretically go into Barrier Statue of the Torrent, though many people in chat are telling me that that's a terrible play. And finally, Gold Pride. Gold Pride put up some results at the most recent national tournaments. I think it's good. I think it's an interesting deck. I think it interacts.
You know what? You know when I'm gonna go to Gold Pride? I'm gonna play this deck when someone breaks this shit without playing the punks. Chad, you want to talk about a deck that loses to Droll? Oh my god. I don't know how many times Selza drolled me after I Z-Almond. It is like, what can I do? Like, I actually just can't do anything. Like, seriously. I can't search with the quick play. Can't search with I can't draw cards from the gold, or from the punk spell. I can't use the level 8, the Dragon Drive to search. It's just like the whole deck just turns off. And also, if the Z-Almond gets gammaed, all the punk cards suck. Like, the only punk card that like does anything at that point is really just the Shark. The Shark, if you can like normal summon the Shark and feud, but that requires you opening like 3 punks. And what are the odds of that? Like, if your Z-Almond gets interrupted, you actually just hard lose.
Opponents in ways that...
Did you see Cali versus TJ? No. Ban Droll? I'm going to say no on banning Droll. I'm going to say no.
decks are not prepared to deal with, but I think it has a really high capacity to brick.
Well, they can't. The deck can't combo. Without the Punk, you really can't combo because, like, there's only 4 monsters. And, like, the Slay or the Nitro is not even a combo card, per se. Leon needs something to be in a graveyard. Like, you know what this deck needs, chat? Their Link Monsters. This deck needs a Link 1 badly. Like, this deck needs to just be able to summon Captain Carry, get a search, link her ass off into something, then normal summon Leon, Reborn Carry, and go into the fusion or the Synchro Monster, and then set the trap. And that would be like 2 cards, potentially like 3. This deck needs a Link 1 badly. That Link 2 just is not it. I don't even care if the Link 1 pointed to the opponent, chat. This deck needs a Link 1 that just says, like, when your life points are lower, target an opponent's card, bounce it to the hand. There you go. Like, that's it, Konami. Give it, I don't care what, just 0 attack, make it point to them. Just, like, give it a Link 1 so you could just get Carry off the field, and then you can, like, use Leon way better. This deck needs a Link 1 badly.
Really
Can we watch this
what
skit?
They want to do with the engine. There's a lot of raw power concentrated in it, but they don't know how to deploy it or with what to play it. And I think right now the outcome is a deck that's extremely confused and frequently just relies on Pep to carry them through matchups that they otherwise would have no shot of winning. So that's how I see this format shaking.
Carry what?
Pep. I think right now the outcome is a deck that's extremely confused.
Oh, he said Pep as in Psychic and Punisher. Okay, I'm like, what is Pep?
And frequently just relies on Pep to carry them through matchups that they otherwise would have no shot of winning. So that's how I see this format shaking out. I am ready to be extremely wrong, as I have been pretty much.
I'm not going to say he's wrong or right. Or, excuse me, I'm not going to say he's going to be proven wrong. But I have to be honest, chat. There's not a single thing on this tier list that I, like, disagree with. The only one that I would say maybe is probably just Branded. Like, I could say put Branded here. But other than that, there's not a single, I can't really say, like, oh, this deck should be in 2 or... You know, like, yeah, they have potential, but they're not, like, they should not be a tiered deck, to be honest. But yeah, I like this. What do you guys think about the tier list, chat? I love it. Gold, Blood, Sacrifice, Link, Link 1, Lose a Thought. Yeah, that's what it should be. Okay, yeah, that's exactly what the card should be. It should be a Link 1, and it should pay life points to activate its effect. But hold on, it would have to activate its effect, like, immediately. Because you kind of need to, like, you have to pay. It would, maybe just pay 1,000. Maybe, fuck it, make it Heat Soul. There you go, chat. It requires 1 gold pride, and it's literally just Heat Soul. You pay 1,000, draw a card. Something like that would actually make this deck way better, chat. Because if you don't pay life points, then, like, you can't unload your hand. And, like, you need to be able to, like, pay life points. Also, them putting that RNG in the trap card, like, kind of ruined the trap, especially because it's not, it not being a hard once per turn, if it didn't have that stupid RNG in it, chat, you could actually play, you could actually play 3 of the trap if it didn't have the stupid RNG in it, because the trap would just be nuts.